everyone. Sorry, a yawn came at the wrong time. How are we all doing? Are we ready to do some live streaming? So, before we get into today's topic, while kind of like, we're all warming up, getting in, I would love to ask you, and anyone who's in chat on like the comments later, if you could have any prompts for Novelcrafter made, like if you wanted me to make you any, what kind of thing would you be looking for? Yeah, that would be wonderful to know. Hi Swesuf, hope you're doing okay. Yeah, so have a thing, just spam me with ideas. It's all good, you know? Yeah. Um yeah, oh good. Everyone's coming in. That is great. Yeah, so today's lesson, I thought to kind of do something like kind of showing how you can research a topic as well. So we're looking at character written material being put inside your book. So this could come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. This might be if you have diary entries, your entire, like if you think like, Dracula, Dracula, Frankenstein, a lot of like classics have. One minute. Is everything okay down there? Okay. You might have they have like letters between the characters, there's journal entries. You might have small sections from like your protagonist. You might also end up with um documents or case files or texts between characters, or your detective might find some clues that are written material. There's a lot of ways that character driven material can turn up organically in your work. And I thought, given that AI has been fed so many books, regardless of what we think of it or not, it would be interesting to look and see if we could use that as a way to kind of research what has been done, um, and how it's kind of tackled as a subject, and then we can take that and try and generate our own character-driven material. I have an idea. I'd quite like to do um, a kind of lore book from Delilah's point of view, from Only Dogs Left, kind of like this post-apocalyptic kind of world. I think it would be very interesting, but I've not really got any idea of where to start. So I'm just going to go into chat, play around with things, and just see what happens. So I'm in general chat. I'm going to change the model to Gemini 3. As you can tell, I've not changed my default prompts recently. I need to do that. Yeah. So I'm going to start with something kind of fairly broad and open. I will say I prefer thinking. I'm using a beta test at the moment. I would like to write, include character written material in my story. Before I go into this, I want to research the topic. Can you help? Types of media, diary entries, letters, texts, etc. Where they come from, any genres that specific types are entwined with. What else do I want to ask? And how they're incorporated into the story. Please give detailed descriptions and some examples from real world literature. I think something like that. We're kind of like playing it by ear. Like if I'm approaching a topic that I don't know that much about, this would be the kind of thing that I would do as a first kind of foray into the topic. Like I won't use AI for everything, but getting an idea of where to start looking, sometimes like you don't know what to search for. So it's good just to kind of get ideas. Okay, so this technique is broadly known as epistolary writing. So I kind of knew that going into things, but that doesn't make a good title for the stream. People don't Google epistolary writing, so you've got to take things with a pinch of salt. But good to know. I see that it's putting in things like this, so interesting. I'll see how it's obviously done this funneled based on my global entries. So if I go is global. Okay, I've got my story genre and stuff, so that's probably clouded, or not clouded, but like colored the research. So it'd be interesting to try this again without the global entry, or in like a blank novel, that kind of thing. So personal diaries or journals, the most common form, directly into a character's mind, very popular in young adult dystopian horror genres because it shows deep private thoughts that character would not say out loud. So you can use it as a full chapter or just a short entry at the start of a chapter. In a dystopian setting, this is often the only place a character can be honest. So a transcript of recorded tapes serving as a diary in The Handmaid's Tale, or obviously the entire Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. We might have handwritten letters. These are messages sent between characters. They're very common in historical fiction and romance. Okay, and then they've kind of done this coloring for how to do it, but use these to slow down the pace or reveal secrets because letters take time to travel. The information might be old by the time the hero reads it, which adds tension. Real world example, Frankenstein and the color purple. Newspaper clippings, usually from the past or from government controlled press in the present. They belong to crime, mystery, and dystopian genres. Use this to explain the history of how the world emerged or ended, and to show propaganda. It allows you to lie to the reader if the government controls the news. Carrie uses newspaper clippings to make the supernatural events feel like a real tragedy. Harry Potter uses the Daily Prophet to show public opinion. So you can see that all of these character written materials are giving different vibes. They're being used in the story to give different opinions and serving different purposes in the story. Hi, Dilly. Oh, my pop has come to say hello. Hi, Sammy. My husband's come with some tea. Thank you. So we've got newspaper clippings, transcripts. So audio, radio, or interrogations, written records of spoken words, popular in sci-fi and modern thrillers. They remove all descriptions and it's just pure dialogue. It feels quite cold, objective, so good for evidence. World War Z by Max Brooks is made entirely of interviews, and Illuminae by Kaufman and Christoph uses surveillance transcripts. Okay. That's cool. That could be something that would be very unusual. Field guides or encyclopedia entries, educational text explaining the world. It's a staple of high fantasy and hard sci-fi. Use it by placing these at the start of a chapter to explain a creature, a weapon, or a location. Stops you from having to have a character explain it in dialogue, which can be boring. So Dune uses quotes from The Princess Irulan to set historical context. The Hitchhiker's Guide uses guide entries. So that's something I'd kind of be interested in with this dystopian. Graffiti and scrawled notes, messages left in the environment. Okay, so Left 4 Dead uses it. I like that as an idea of, like, it's a character written material that isn't it's kind of, like, in your face in a way because graffiti does tell stories. Um, so yeah. Okay, so ship logs, captain's logs, that kind of thing. Manifestos or pamphlets. So, um okay, so 1984 by Orwell features the book, which explains the political theory of the world. Medical or police reports, again, more for thriller, medical kind of things. Poems or songs used in fantasy. So I kind of like this. This is a good starting point. Um, okay. Pacing, flow, character, opinion, etc. I always like adding in a concise way just to kind of be like, please don't ramble. Oh, Suesif says, I wrote a short story entirely based on discovered medieval letters created with the help of AI. The letters from a French inquisitor in English sprinkled with old French were gems. Nice. Yeah, I think it's cool when you can kind of get these things. And if you have a lot of world building notes, even if you don't want to use the AI to write the notes themselves, having it pass the information and kind of work out which information would be good to include. It helps you kind of hone in on things. Okay. So we have different things. So categories that this could influence. We have world building and lore, the context. It's about giving the reader information without having characters explain it in the dialogue. Um, so rulebook, history lessons, propaganda, um, character and perspective. So you can show what characters are really thinking, give a voice to characters that aren't there, and voice contrast, showing how different characters sound. Um, they can change the vibe of a story, so that's like the pacing. Um, you can so it's here saying you can use it as like a breather to kind of slow things down. So this has an example of hiding and reading a letter. You could have you could speed up the pacing by just having like chapters of just like interrogation books, and it's like they're very short and like one after the other. You could change like depending on how long your character written entries are, that would really impact the pace. Okay, and plot and mystery. Um, and finally, truth and reliability. So if the document is so example, a report saying a mission was a success, but we just watched the characters fail. If things are redacted, that kind of shows that things aren't as reliable. So, okay, so if you're stuck on which one to use, you can look at this. Need to explain tech? Use a manual or schematic. Need to make it scary? Use a warning scroll. Need to show Kira's soft side? Use a private letter. Or need to find the enemy base? Use a stolen map. So it's kind of given some ideas on how to kind of get these things going, which is kind of cool. So I think what I want to do from this is concept some chapter beginnings. If I go into my plan, I have a lot of kind of like scene summaries. I've not really written in this draft a lot of it, but I want to have a small bit of information prior to each chapter. So I'm going to click more, and from that, add into the context my full outline. So not the text, just the outline. What do I want to ask? So I know kind of what I want to do, but I want to see what the AI says. I'm curious. So we're kind of just like brainstorming, getting ideas together, seeing if this is what we want. And if it isn't, that's okay. We can just, try again. So given all this, I'd like to look at different document slash character written material that might be useful or might be used at the start of each chapter. Suggest 3 and why. The options you've spoken about before, and also a guide to, was it Heliopolis? I think I recalled it. Yeah. Written by Delilah herself. If you have any questions, please ask them first. Okay, so for another novella, I used AI to create some somewhat passable poetry, vampire writing, empathetic poetry about werewolves. Nice. And like sometimes I guess with poetry, if you're writing it in the story, if the writer, like the character, isn't a good writer or like has a certain style, you can very much like, use that. Sai says, in modern settings, would a character text messages also count? Yeah, absolutely. If a phone's retrieved by someone else, or even if your character is there and is, you sometimes see these in fan fiction, I guess more so, but like if you've got conversations between characters or in a chat room, that is when people write, they write in a very different way to how they speak out loud. And text language has such a different vibe. Like there was this one girl at uni who always wrote in full sentences and always ended messages with a full stop. And it always seemed passive aggressive, like regardless of the fact that she wasn't a passive aggressive person, but because of the way she spoke in text. And so I think that kind of like almost reveals bits about character without them meaning to, because how you approach a written material, even if it is a text message, that makes a big thing. Or like if it's someone writing with numbers and like abbreviated words, you know that they're on a Nokia and having to pay per message. And so they're trying to shorten everything as much as possible. That kind of thing. It gives context. Okay, so we have here. Here are 3 distinct options, specifically tailored for Act 1. I kind of was meaning per chapter, but interesting. Okay, I like this. If you're fixing a heater, wear gloves. Not for the heat, but for the slime. Okay, I like that. See, that's the kind of vibe I was going for, like very snarky. You could see that being relevant and kind of just there, just something that's a little bit light-hearted, but relevant to the story. Okay, so Arcanical Edicts, public safety notices, and that would very much contrast with Delilah's like unofficial guide to Nova Bezos. Okay, so reporting unauthorized tinkering. Compliance city is a warm city. Nova Bezos prefers. Yada yada yada. recovered audio transcripts. Um, okay, I hadn't thought of that, but I like the idea of audio fragments kind of being something that come in and you can kind of see what's happening in the outside world. And maybe so in this, no one in Heliopolis knows, or like none of the normal people know that other cities still exist, that they are not the only remaining faction. And so that kind of like without the context, that would be kind of it would be intriguing. Um I wouldn't necessarily use it as the rebels talking, but I think for like external communication with Nova Bezos, that could be an interesting way of doing this. So yeah, I think that's something I would be wanting to explore. Does anyone have any questions at this point? And or any prompt requests? um is my no, my drink's not quite drunk yet. Um So now what I probably should do is have corrected this number 3 and, like, gone through, but I'm not for now, just because partially time, but also I think that depending on what it suggests, I'm kind of interested, and I can always ask another question. Yeah. Keep your boots by the bed. Keep your knife in the boots. I feel like rule 3 should be keep the blade pointing down. I love that endure the cold, preserve the city. I think that's a really interesting motif. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna make a motifs to explore. I'm gonna star this so it's pinned to the top. Add this to my side panel. I'm just putting that there because I just feel like it's something that's really that stuck with me. Um, yeah, I think that's something I could work with. I like also how it's giving context. Um, that's funny. I feel like that would have to be like a handwritten addendum. Yeah. Okay, I like that observation. Supervisors love clipboards. It makes them feel important. If Zora approaches you with a clipboard, hold a wrench and look confused. She'll assume you're incompetent and walk away. It saves so much time. Okay. So I think these, like, not all of them I'm like, yes, I want to use, but it's giving me ideas. I think also like later, I love the idea of some transcripts. Um, yeah. Okay. Someone stuffed a rat in the intake valve again. Oh, I like that. Before the ice, humanity used to pull lightning from the sky and fire from the earth. They lit their cities so bright they couldn't see the stars. We have traded the stars for warmth. That's a bit, yeah. Never look at the dog. The dog knows you have a ham sandwich in your pocket. I feel like that would be a always carry food in your pocket. That way the dogs. Someone like, yeah. Again, this is AI making suggestions. We're just getting some. That's hilarious. See, some of these, I'm like, yes, this is the kind of vibe I'm looking for. Some are not, and this would be the point where I'd be like, okay, I give the information that I want. Like, and be like, these are the things I like. These are the things I'm not like as much. Try again, given this. Um. So yeah. Well, that's grim. Nova Bezos wall of ice built on bones and sacrifice. When the garden turns to red, hide the living, count the dead. I mean, nursery rhymes in general are grim, but geez. I like that. Hope. A useless emotion that gets you killed. Replacement, a wrench. A wrench is heavy. A wrench is real. A wrench fixes things. And then in this chapter, I would absolutely have her whack someone with a wrench. A wrench. I don't even remember what happens in this chapter, but someone being hit with a wrench is screamed for by that option. But we can start seeing here that there are options. Now, I think I want to play around with this. We have our Delilah Harris. We've got a codex entry for her. It's quite comprehensive. So I think I want to work on this guide to Nova Bezos. Heliopolis. Uh, uh, is more an in-joke to herself, a cynical way of humor. Um, Yeah. How might I approach something like this? I want to plan before writing. I often have to specify as well if depending on what the model is, that I want to plan everything out before writing because AI can get a little bit over keen and just do a plan and then start writing it, and you're like, no, 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 I want to go through things and think things through, you know. So yeah. Okay, I like that it's saying, think about what the document is doing for your story. Okay, so things to consider. When did she start it and why? Does she add to it over time or is it a one time thing? Are some entries more bitter than others, reflecting her mood when written? Does she ever almost show someone then stop herself? Survival tips. Um, Other sections might include a spotter's guide to assholes, dining in the Undercity, a mock review, restaurant review of communal dining, career opportunities, local attractions, frequently asked questions, emergency procedures, glossary of terms, places of worship, um, health and wellness, and entertainment options. Okay. Um, yeah, tonal guide, absolutely. Okay, so I'm just gonna put I'm gonna add in context, law, and locations, and object items. So this is kind of like a background to Heliopolis. Jean-Luc says, "Wouldn't it make sense to also chat with your character to get some ideas?" Absolutely. I put Delilah as the context because I'm trying to tweak things to what I'm thinking. But I'll try this, and then we'll go into a what the AI thinks Delilah would say. I kind of wanted to be able to influence things a little bit more myself at this point. Um, but I could always open up another thread. Okay, and then let's see. So I'll give same model. Oh, rude. I just pressed undo and it came back up. If anyone was wondering what I did then, but I say undo, I mean Control/Command Z. And then I'm going to add in the same context. by codex type. Okay, so it's given like plans. Okay, here are her realities, potential top tips. So these are, I mean, these are okay, but they're not like, they're not as good as the ones we had above. I feel like it's kind of like, yeah. Let's have a look at these other ones. Okay, I mean, that's all right. Again, I don't feel like any of these were quite as good as like when we were seeing them in the other chat. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Christian, of course you can. So, okay, well, let's go into chatting with our characters. I feel like this is a great segue, a little bit of fun. So, Christiana, you're in a chat. Any model, let's use Sonnet this time. Literally, you can just be like, please take on the role of Delilah in this story, in Delilah in this conversation, and answer questions as her. Say if you wanted to do a role play, you could be like, I will be, and then insert your character name. And you could do that to work out scenes and like have conversations. Um, so um So I put, what tips would you give to dealing with Zora? So I'm going to start with that. It might be useful to add as context, maybe some other parts of your like your lore, backstory, that kind of thing. Not absolutely necessary. I might add for this. I'm going to add in. I'm not going to add the outline actually because we don't want spoilers. We're just asking in general about Zora. And like this is with the general purpose prompt. I'm literally just saying, please take on the role of Delilah and answer questions as her. Send. Also, this is kind of works because if I go on Zora, on all of my entries, I have a. Do I have this for Zora? Yeah, Delilah's opinions on Zora. But I also have this for every. So something I do in this particular codex is have my protagonist's opinion on each character, object, bit of lore, location, because then when the AI is writing from her perspective and describing these things, it kind of filters through. Like she doesn't unnecessarily praise something or whatever. It kind of keeps things a little bit more like, in her voice. Um, I mean, I also love that this is very much in Delilah's voice, quite British, but what can you do? That's my a bit more my voice influencing. But sometimes you've got to swallow your pride and just nod along, even when she's talking absolute bollocks. Um, give her perfect work and she can't complain, even if she wants to. It's very kind of like character basis. Um, find allies elsewhere. Um, there's some things I'd be like, okay, that's like a little bit not on the nose, but it's a bit too much. Like Delilah wouldn't necessarily consciously be aware of that, but it's getting things started. Um, document everything. Don't make you, don't let her make you like her. Okay, yeah, that's a good way of like, you're getting information. You could put some of this in, like how Delilah deals with Zora. I might just add some of this to Zora's codex entry, that kind of thing. For Rob, who in 40 minutes will hear this, um, if it's a model that deals in curly quotes, you could just go into chat and like, if you're in chat, go context, add the chapter and be like, please rewrite this using curly quotes. I mean, it's not changing it, but it would rewrite it. Likewise, or you could do so if you go into the prompt library and you go and create a persona, so new persona, you could be like, when writing speech dialogue, quotes, or apostrophes, please use or use curly quotes. I'm not sure which. I know some models are more prone to using them and not. Let me. Have I got? Okay, so I have a lot of models here where I've just tested. Okay, so we know that Claude Sonnet 4 doesn't do curly quotes. So let's try. We're going to take this prompt. My new persona. Where did I put it? Yeah. Global scene beat completion. Quotes. Let's just see how it does. Right. This was Claude Sonnet 4. Okay, interesting. So it's not done that. How will I do this? There might be a more technical word. So let me go just like Sonnet 4.5. Correct word for curly quotes, and how can I better prompt an AI model to use these over straight quotes? Oh, Andrea said, some that pay quite a lot to have a software to make them look smart. Pay to win is it's fair to be blunt? Question mark. Oh, isn't fair. I don't understand any of that. I'm sorry. Okay. Smart quotes. Interesting. So it's because the fact that they're always using straight curly quotes rather than straight makes me think maybe it's like an inbuilt thing in the AI. So you might not be able to. I mean, let's just see. prompts, curly or smart quotes. I'm just gonna see if this works. I mean, I have no idea. Again, we're just trying to play around with things. Try for a spin. It might be that some models just can't do it. Yeah, this is not. And like if we go into the preview, personas, you can see it. So let me change the model. Let me use Gemini 2.5. We're just seeing if this is a need to apply thinking. Is there even a... I don't think there's even an apostrophe. Oh, Nicodemus is... I think... Is that a curly quote? I'm not entirely sure, actually. I'm just adding one dialogue so we can test this. They do look different. So I would think that maybe the curly quote thing is an issue with the model and not with yeah, so Swesive says using Gemma. I would say get a cheap model that uses curly quotes. I think the Anthropic models tend to default to straight quotes, is what I found in general. Like I usually, when editing, have to always bring back curly quotes when I'm using an Anthropic model. Whereas if I'm using a Google-based model, so Gemini, it's not as much of an issue. So I think for Rob, your best bet would be to find a really cheap model, so like Gemma, and get it to replace and do that. At least at this point, we could definitely make a prompt to do that kind of thing. But like, I think just sticking it in chat might be your easiest way. If you want to still use a model that prefers straight quotes, like it isn't a Novelcrafter specific thing; it's a model specific. It seems. Yeah. So that was interesting, a little interesting segue. But yeah, I mean, it's something that when I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream at this point, but keep in mind, character written material, you've got a huge codex with your characters. Use that to help you write the material. You can use AI to help you like find key information that you might then want to include or to brainstorm ideas, play around with stuff. You don't just have to be like, write this specific thing. You can kind of like iterate and just kind of explore and have a bit of fun. Like all character written material has a purpose, and it's working out what purpose you want it to have in your story, whether it's revealing things about characters, changing the pacing, giving information where it would otherwise be a bit of a brain dump, but you can kind of add it. So like for this, there's some of the stuff I might be saying might be like really like droll, but if it's written through Delilah's filter, it's just like a little like one sentence thing at the beginning of the chapter that then becomes relevant. That's cool. That's fun, you know? So yeah. Does anyone have any questions before I head off? If not, I hope you all have a great weekend. And I'm not here next Saturday, but I will be the Saturday after. So for Mitch, quick question: is this the normal time slot for so Saturday streams are always at 4 p.m. UK current time, so either GMT or BST, depending on the time zone. So that would be 11 a.m. Eastern time, like 11 a.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Mountain time, some really full early hour if you're on the Pacific coast. But yeah, we kind of found this was the best time for a combination of you guys being awake and me being functional and awake. But we do sometimes do streams at other times, like if something like exciting happens, but this is the like the Saturday slot. So it gives well, it just helps, like organize the weekend and so that if I've got things on. There's a schedule on Discord, or like we always post on Discord when a stream's gonna be. We also put it on YouTube so you can like usually see when that happens, depends, but 9 times out of 10, Saturday at the same time as this today is when the streams are. We're thinking of doing some more like kind of like not in person, but like small group classes, but that's not quite happening yet. But this stream slot's always here, Yeah. Well, I hope that helps. And I'll see you all soon. Bye, everyone.